nobody knows what you are.
I was concerned about going out into the world and doing something bigger than myself until someone smarter than myself made me realize there is nothing bigger than myself.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another special episode with your boy Shamaki from Inspyre. Um, and today we have a very special guest with us. We have a special guest that goes by the name of Anisa Ismail, who is now living in Abu Dhabi. As well, I mean, to be fair, I always struggle with intros because I don't know the best way to introduce yourself. So I would like to give you the floor now to introduce yourself in a way that would do a lot better than mine.
Do you know what's crazy? Sorry, hi everyone. Hi everyone listening to the podcast. I don't know how to introduce myself either. Like this, that's not. Thanks for having me.
Intros are a very interesting one.
Yeah, because it's like, what do you say? Like, hi. So I'm Anisa. I am 30. I'm 32. I forgot how old I was for a second. 32. From London, but for the last third, 13 years. For the last 13 years, I've been living in Abu Dhabi, which is in the UAE.
Yeah,
It's not Dubai. It's the capital city. And initially, when I came out here to teach and to work in.
yeah,
I've worked in a few different establishments as a teacher, and then in 2017, I had the bright idea of like becoming my own boss. And I thought it would be an easy journey, but it hasn't been. But alhamdulillah. So I started this business
absolutely.
it's called the Unplugged Initiative. And I work with kids
Alhamdulillah.
who are 8 years and under and are suffering from screen addiction. So they struggle with managing their usage of their devices and can sometimes go overboard. And so what I do is I come in, create healthy spaces and healthy programs, and educate parents and their nannies on how to have how their children can have a healthy relationship with the devices. So yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, no, that sounds absolutely
Thank you.
amazing, and we will definitely be getting into more later on in the episode because I really want to know about um kids and especially their how they are with this new level of technology, which is getting crazier and crazier by the year, and kind of seeing how their you know initial reactions are to it and how much they can actually be overwhelmed by these things. But first, I kind of wanted to know a bit more about you, um, a bit more about your background as well, because this is a podcast that we kind of like look into like
Mhm.
reading a lot, and I just kind of wanted to know growing up if there was a book or any books that like kind of interested you,
Oh, I
if
absolutely
you
love
were
reading.
into
I think
reading.
one of the best things that my mom really did for us was she was very big on sending us to the library, and she was like, "I'm gonna get you guys a library card, and you're spending your Sundays at the library." And I think growing up, I absolutely like if I could dive into a book and finish it, I would. Um, but I was a very big Roald Dahl fan. Funnily enough, one of my favorite books was always Matilda, and like as an
Yeah,
adult
classic.
right now, sometimes I'll just kind of go back and like read it just because there was. I think the thing that Roald Dahl as an author really did when I was younger for me was he like explained things in a way where you kind of went with the story. And in my head, it was this thing. And then obviously when the movies came out, it was like, well, that's not how I imagined it, but I'll take it, you know? So I was very big avid Roald Dahl reader.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There was a couple of books.
And I'll say it even now when you said like you kind of look back on Matilda. Would you say it's a very fond memory? Like, do you read that as like a
Yeah,
comfort book
absolutely.
or
It's the comfort
even the
book,
movies?
comfort movie. Tomorrow actually is random. Thing about Abu Dhabi that I love the most is like it really we have so many things happening. But randomly they're doing a show tomorrow on it's the Matilda show, but it's like a musical. So it's like I definitely want to go check it out. It's Matilda. Um, yeah,
Okay.
like I
Yeah,
love to
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
go back into a lot of those books as much time. And plus, like because I work with young kids and I really want them to get
Yeah.
reading, a lot of the times I do get them into like the books that I used to
Yeah.
read growing up. Like I'll take them to the bookstore and we'll have a look at some of the stuff that I used to read. And whatever's available, which is
Yeah.
which is good for them.
Yeah. No, no, absolutely. Um, and then one thing that I read as well in your book, which I suggest everyone get, whether you have children or not, really, to be fair, it's called How
Mm.
Electronics Stole Childhood. And it's really insightful in terms of how our relationship is with technology. And then the way when I was reading as well, I was kind of looking at it from my perspective of like, I think as a kid personally, I would be finished if I was
Yeah,
exposed to the amount of
yeah,
technology we are or we have now. The fact that like YouTube is in the palm of my hands, um, the fact that like I could watch any cartoons whenever I want on demand, and I feel like breaking out of that would be very very
difficult.
like challenging for me personally because I'm addicted to it now as an adult, so I don't know how I would be even as like as a kid. But in the beginning of the book you spoke about how you moved to Abu Dhabi to
Yeah,
basically become a teacher, and one thing that fascinated me in it was the quick turnaround in you leaving, which you said like within like
yeah,
5 days. How was that for you, like to
yeah.
just leave essentially everything that you were comfortable with and then just decide to
Yeah, do
pack
you know
up and
what it
go?
is? It's crazy because sometimes I look back at those moments and I'll be like, I don't know a 20-year-old that would do that. Like my youngest sister now is 23, but had she told me 3 years ago that she was just planning to move to another country, I would have looked at her like she's
Yeah.
crazy. But in that moment, I was like in my
Yeah.
second year of uni, and I
Yeah.
think I was kind of stuck on the fact that I know what I want. Like I know that I wanted to really impact lives of young children. I knew I wanted something on that on that level. And I just felt like the UK, I don't know if you can relate a little bit now, but the UK
Yeah.
at that time for me was just really bad energy. It was really bad vibes. It was, just mundane.
Yeah. To be fair, it's still very bad
See,
vibes.
so like it hadn't changed. And the thing that I was really blessed with, and I didn't really mention this, but the thing I was really blessed with, and I didn't mention it in the book, was the fact that, alhamdulillah, my mum was very big on us like seeing the world. So whenever she could, she'd always be like, we're gonna go here for holiday, we're gonna go here. So like I had experienced life outside of London. I
Yeah.
knew there was more outside of London. So it was like to think you're gonna go to uni and then you're gonna get a job and then you're gonna get married, and you're gonna stay here, and then it just it was scary. So the only way I could see maybe challenging the state, and at that time in that season, all of my friends were like getting married. So I was like, oh wait, am I gonna be next? Like it was just a season of like that. So I was like, you know what? The only way I like break the status quo a little bit is like if I can convince my family that I'm just gonna go for a year,
Yeah.
you know? And initially they were like, no. But because it happened so quick, I got the job. I did the interview, I got the job offer, they sent the flight. Because it happened so quick, it didn't give them room to be like, yeah, no, yeah, no. And so like I think I focused a lot on the move, but I didn't think about the
Yeah,
impact it
yeah,
would
yeah.
have, right? So it was like, I'm only going for a year. I'll be back, guys. I'll see you soon. Blah, blah, blah. Then, I
Yeah.
could tell didn't really be back. It's just, I think years.
Oh, initially was it just for like a year?
Yeah, I was supposed to just go for a year. I was supposed to go for a year, finish my uni online, and then come back.
Oh,
Deal.
damn.
And life happened, and I ended up getting a really great job offer that I couldn't refuse. And it was just kind of like circumstances like, no, actually, I'm going to stay. And at that point, my family had come to visit and they'd come to see, and they were like, oh, it's not so
Yeah.
bad. It's all right. We can, we can do this.
So I had a follow-up question. Um, the follow-up question was kind of like,
Okay.
I feel like a lot of people now, especially with how the UK is going, which is down the drain, are losing a lot of patience with this place, you know? And different people have checked out, going into the teaching field
Yeah.
in, either in the UAE or Qatar, or like these other places in the Middle East. And it's kind of a like, how difficult would you say it is to kind of get
Yeah.
into that? Or the process of like moving there and setting up.
Honestly, I always say because I get loads of like DMs and stuff, messages and stuff, people asking me like where they can apply and what they, how to do it. But I think the biggest thing I always say is like it's not impossible. Like it's not as hard you think. The thing that a lot of people find hard to let go of is the comfort of knowing your home. The comfort of knowing the UK or Canada or wherever you're from stops you from going anywhere else in the world because the unknown. You just don't know. You can watch my videos or my channel or whatever, and you can see like the way I do it, but still you won't know, right? So I always say like, it's a mindset thing first. First, you got to put it in your mind like I want to wholeheartedly try this without any expectations because no two experiences would be the same. Then the second thing is if you're serious about applying for a job, for a role, I always say LinkedIn is your biggest tool because the way things work out here, a lot of people don't post on job sites. It's not really job sites that people post, teaching, whatever career you're really looking for. So I highly recommend you making use of LinkedIn and going on LinkedIn, creating even like how you represent yourself on LinkedIn. You have to understand the world is now tuning into the Middle East. It's Saudi, it's Qatar, the UAE. Everybody really wants to come here. So what a lot of the companies now are doing because they've reached this status, they want to attract top talent anywhere in the world. So it's not just enough that like you want to come, like, you have to also kind of put yourself in a position
Yeah, you have to
that
offer
you
something as well.
showcase that they need you.
Yeah.
Are you going to add value? Right, you have to be top talent because you're in competition with the rest of the world. You're in competition with somebody who wants a job here from any part of the world. So it's like it's not just the fact that you're from the UK that's going to be of benefit. The world has woken up now to the Middle East, so it's like everybody wants to come. So I always say make sure your mind is in the right place. LinkedIn, create an amazing profile and showcase your assets, showcase what it is that you are going to bring. Think 5 years ahead. What do they need 5 years from now that you have the skill set for right now that you could provide? And these type of things. And then when you go on LinkedIn, connect with key people in HR for the companies. Like what I would do is, for example, if I want to work for, let's say, ADNOC, which is the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, right? They're it's the probably one of the best companies to work for, right? I would go onto LinkedIn, type in ADNOC employees, look at what employees are working in ADNOC that are in HR, and then shoot them messages. Be like, hey, I'm so and so. This is my skill set. This is what I can provide. Da, 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 da. Like and like make these connections. And it's not as easy as it was like for me to come
Yeah,
out in
yeah.
5 days. That was in 2011. Now it's like things have changed
Yeah,
can't be
nah,
the
of course.
same.
Especially now it's become like a
So
proper, before it was kind of like, oh, maybe, but now it's like a lot of people are actively trying to move out. It's like the climate is proper changed.
you've got celebrities. You've got celebrities.
Yeah.
Right. There's like celebrities
Yeah,
are trying to
yeah.
move out here. Forget
Yeah, that's
anybody else.
crazy.
We're like normal people. Celebrities come out. Like,
Yeah.
wait, what? What this was always here. We
Yeah.
need to
And also, so
you
then to
know.
kind of follow up on that, the lifestyle there, has it changed since like 2011?
Oh my god, so much. So like the thing about Abu Dhabi, the thing about Abu Dhabi is like it's so different to Dubai. I think a lot of people just assume that Dubai and Abu Dhabi is the same thing. It's so different. I could not explain it um more. It's such a different place. But the thing that I think that's happened is with Abu Dhabi, it's gradually just kind of grown and matured as a city. It is the capital city of the UAE. It does obviously home to like, so many amazing things, but it's grown. And I think that the last 10, 11, 12 years that I've been here, I've grown with it. I mean, there's new residential areas and new islands and new this, that, but it's been gradual. It hasn't just been like, oh, this, and it's been intentional. Abu Dhabi is very, very, very big on like being family orientated, being a city that attracts, like I said, top talent, and being a city that attracts, high, really like high in demand and high stakes of events and things. It's not just touristy and like you just want to come and take a pic. No, it's like for last week we just had the NBA, preseason games, like they attract like next week we've got the UFC
Yeah,
matches happening and so much, but it's not just anything. It's like want Abu Dhabi to be this prestigious, luxurious
yeah,
destination, and I think they've
yeah.
succeeded
No,
in
no,
that.
of course.
Like it means a lot to be able to live in a city like this.
I mean, I think 'cause I've been to both. I've been to Dubai and Abu Dhabi. My uncle lives in Abu Dhabi, and you could kind of tell there's even the feeling of the two cities is very different. It's a lot calmer in Abu Dhabi, and it's a lot more hectic in Dubai, and like it's just
Yeah.
very touristy orientated, Whereas like Abu Dhabi is the place where like, okay, now you want to live here, that's where you'd kind of settle, I think, which is amazing to be fair, because
What did you think of it when you came to Abu Dhabi? Did
to
you
be
love
fair,
it?
it was a while back. It was like literally like 10 years ago. Um, so at the time, I was like,
Oh,
so I wouldn't say I've seen the crazy changes that you might have seen, but I could sense the big difference between the two places. It definitely felt a lot more like livable in Abu
yeah.
Dhabi than it did in Dubai, because Dubai was just a very manic time.
But yeah, no, I've bumped into so many like UK people, Londoners in Dubai that I don't see when I go home. Like it's such a manic. See, it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Dubai is beautiful. It really is, and it has its charm, and it has its thing. But Abu Dhabi is just. I have so much love for Abu Dhabi.
And obviously, we love to see an independent go-getter, of course, living abroad. Um, when you first kind of moved there, like sort of alone, how was that for you?
Yeah.
Like to get your like touch points to know where is the grocery place,
Oh,
where
it
this is, where
was.
that is. Was there like any like sort of like nerves kind of living alone, or were you just here for it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I come from a big family. Like my mom's house was always just loud, manic. I've got so many siblings, and it was like the change of like craziness and then silence. It was a lot for me just to kind of process. But language, well, like my parents, mashallah, like alhamdulillah, they speak Arabic. Because my parents used to work and live in Saudi before they moved to different parts of the world. And then, I mean, it's just it was the language barrier for me was like a bit of a struggle because I was like, no, like when I say no one spoke English, it was like you barely find people speaking English. It was like I was like, what did I do? Like the first 2 months, I was like, what did I do? But then now stick it out, like just stick it out, stay here, stick it out. Um, the thing that I actually struggled more with was people's perception of me, because it was like my aunts and my um, people in the UK were like, oh, saying to my mom like, oh, you sent your daughter away and she's like not married and oh, yeah, there was all of that. Who's gonna marry her now that she's abroad and like she's tarnishing her. It was all of that. It was like it was a lot, and my mom was like, bless her, fielding them away. She's like, no, 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 let her figure it out. No, how can you trust her? Like anything can happen to her, and it was crazy because like fast forward, let's say 5 to 6 years later, it was like their daughters all of a sudden wanted to like move to the UAE and like move to and work here, and it was like people and ask her how my daughter, weren't
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
talking
Literally,
ish
literally.
about me? Like all of a sudden, you want me to help your child? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it was an
yeah,
interesting kind of answer your question. It was difficult adjusting, but I think more than anything else, I think it made me just become like stronger in trusting and having tawakkul in Allah and understanding that, people will say they have your back and people say protect you or they'll be there for you. But when you are sleeping in an apartment by yourself, the only like the only hope you have or like protection you really have is Allah. So I'm like, it really just strengthened tawakkul more than anything else. So I gotta look at it from
No,
that
mashallah,
point of
that's
view.
beautiful because that's
Mm.
how it would be because you're literally in a world by yourself, in a country by yourself, in a city by yourself, in an apartment by yourself. That's
Yeah.
it's like a wild thought to kind of think of.
Right.
No
No
family.
family
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatsoever.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And now to kind of like touch more on the book, because I found the book so fascinating. I can't lie. Um, I wanted to first kind of know. So it's for those of you that don't know what the book is essentially about, I kind of touched up on it in the beginning, but I'll give a quick little um, synopsis. I'll say how like I interpreted it, and then I would love to hear how you'd interpret it as well. So the book is extremely insightful in just how much technology is affecting the younger generations, especially as well if you have kids. This would be a big recommendation for you to actually get because there are like exercises as well in the book to like kind of go through over with your kids as well or yourself. And it's about the possibilities, the wide possibilities of the internet and the effects that it can have on young children, especially in those early ages where they're just young and they're playful and they want to run around and do crazy things. Um, but when there's like a massive bit of like stimulation
Mm.
coming from this screen in their hands, it's kind of like how to you navigate between that. That's kind of how I would describe it, but I would love to hear like how you would break it down as well.
Mami, you described it really well, mashallah. Yeah, I think when I set out to like write the book, at first I was like, I didn't really want to come across too preachy. I didn't want to be like, you have to do this. I think knowledge, when someone reads a book, I want them to gain knowledge, and knowledge is always best when it's broken down. And this is where my teacher hat comes in because bite-sized information is the best way to take it in and remember. And like you said, there are like moments in the book where I stop and there's like questions that you can answer and little thought moments that I kind of because I'm the type when I'm reading a book, I'll have like some notes to write about it, especially when it's a self-help or type of book. Uh, but essentially, it was that it was breaking down the effects that devices have on young children. Um, I call it the good, the bad, the ugly, because I always get the odd. Well, my kids need to know how to use devices because the technology is going to be more advanced in the future. Fine, that's completely fine. But what's more important, especially for a young child under the age of 8 years old, is that they understand um, the regulations around using their devices. And if that's not, then that's something I think as a society we just expect them to know because it came to us and we figured it out. The difference is we weren't born into it. We weren't born into a space where on the iPad that, like you said, is easily accessible. So I always say the same way we teach young children how to brush their teeth, um, eat their vegetables, go to bed on time. None of that stuff they want to do. They don't want to sleep on time. They don't want to have vegetables all day, every day. They don't want to brush, but we have to teach them these. And that's the case with their devices. If you leave them to it, they're gonna want to just be. It's a rabbit hole, right? But the minute you take it away, it's like all hell breaks loose. So it's establishing a healthy relationship with their devices because even us as adults, we're struggling. And I think if we're struggling and we've already had our childhood and we've already experienced all the things we're supposed to experience for our development, imagine the impact it can have on these children 10, 20, 30 years from now. So the book is insightful in that it breaks it down and it's not just information overload, it's practical tools as well towards the end where you can actually go and be like, okay, you know what, let me try this. I think in the book, one of the things I talk about is the unplugged zone, which is my favorite thing. And it's just a space in your home, a space in your environment that your child is in. that's completely device free, and it's just a space where the child can go and be unplugged and actually just kind of get creative and do things that they want to do, and kind of tap into that creative side
Yeah,
of
no,
their brain.
absolutely. Now that was very
So
well said, I must say. um, and I wanted to touch up on um a part in the book that what you
definitely.
said in 2016 was a turbulent year for you, um, where because it was the first time where you kind of
Yeah,
didn't want to
yeah,
go back into teaching because of
it
just
was.
how much that things have changed with like the kids getting iPads, like every child in class getting an iPad, and that's something like I can't even think of. Like I can't even imagine something like that. Is it like do they have the iPads and they're meant to learn with it, or like what is like how are they looking to implement something like that in classrooms? Because if I was a kid and I had an iPad in class, I'm not
I mean,
concentrating.
now it's everywhere. Now it's definitely in the classrooms. So imagine, because I definitely will not concentrate. Do you remember? I don't know how old you are, because this might really show me. But like, did you ever have like in primary school like that moment where the teacher would like roll in the
Yeah, yeah,
TV?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
how old are
I'm
you?
26, but like
Uh,
they would roll in that big TV with
So
like
did
cassette
you ever
tapes.
have that like? Yeah, so you did, right?
Yeah,
Okay, thank God you're not that young.
yeah.
So imagine, yeah, how hyped we were in those
Yeah,
moments. That would come in like once or twice a
yeah,
year, yeah. That was already crazy as it was, right? And then now in 2016 or 2017, that year, they were implementing um, the iPads being in the classrooms as like a test run. Now, there's devices in every classroom in every school in Abu Dhabi. That's just a normal thing now. Um, but what a lot of schools are doing now, which is a testament to like the work we're trying to get done over here, is like they are introducing sessions in the classroom where they do talk about uh, digital wellness and utilizing devices in a good way. But that the problem now isn't even the fact that it's in the classroom. Every child has access to it. Like most kids here have their own phones by like 6 years or 7 years old. They have iPads from like 2, 3 years old. Like the battle really is like a lot tougher if it's just so accessible. Like in the UK, I don't think there's as much devices at home per child, whereas here it's like every child has their own. You'll go to a restaurant, you'll see like every child with their own little iPad or their own phone, or and so young. They're so young, like their little hands can't even like wrap.
yeah. I don't think it's reached that age, that stage yet. Yeah, we're kind of going through like a financial crisis over here.
So well, hopefully it doesn't happen.
There
But
is.
here
We're thinking
the
about
there's
food.
and toilet paper. Yeah, we're not thinking about that here. There's just iPhone 15 is sold out. Like it's a problem.
But I wanted to
Yeah.
know more, like
So,
in depth of it. Kind of like, is it
but yeah.
like how do they use the iPads? Is it like sort of connected to the whiteboard, or is it like where they play kind of like number games on there, or like like how does it work?
So, like the educators, the teachers in the classroom will create virtual classrooms on the iPad, and it's connected to the teacher's laptop and the teacher's screen. So it's like they will be doing classwork, whatever, but it's all through the iPad, and it's all independent learning. And yes, it's good in the sense of like, okay, they get to learn how to code and how to build websites and do all these different things. Cool. What they're supposed to be doing for the future, like we call it that future learning skills. That's fine. But the problem is it isolates children in a way where they're not supposed where they miss out on key aspects of learning. You can't really do a lot of group work if you're on the device, and it's like there's key things that are missing, the eye to eye, um, the attention as well, because kids nowadays can't really focus if there's no device in front of them. A lot of children here, we have a huge number. It's like a huge surge now of children who are 10 years and under who've been diagnosed with either autism or ADHD, and it's wild because why are we facing this right now? This is problematic. not even to mention a lot of the issues that we're having with diabetes, a lot of the issues. We have young children as young as like 4 or 5 years old who have back issues and have to go to the chiropractor. It's because they're hunched over and they're always on their device, and their body is developing. It's because obviously this the years of their body developing, but it's developing in a way that is affecting their body. So when they have their classroom setups and they have the individualized learning all connected to one system, yeah, it does make a streamlined way of learning. It's not as effective for their development as it should be,
That's
you
that's
know?
actually incredible. That's wild to even think about, if I'm honest. Like the fact that all of these like different
Yeah.
problems are occurring sort of around as well at the same time as the technology improves. It's interesting because it's kind of like you said, it is good in some aspects because of like the whole coding thing and integrating towards the future. Um, but then when you look at the side effects as well that it's coming with, that's when you just kind of like have to try figure out like sort of the balance. And I kind of wanted to ask you that. Well, where would you say is the balance between like technology and kids' access to technology?
Yeah. So I always say we have to match their age and stage of development, right? So, like for example, when a child is born, in the UK, I think they have this. They actually have this in the UK more than they have it here. They've got like this, like I think it used to be like a red book where the midwife would come and every month she would do like a checkup until they're like 1 years old, and then you'd go in and do a checkup every like few months or so. And it's like the reason why the midwife would come and check up on the baby like every month is because per month there's a different, for every month that they get older, there's a different um there's development happening for their body that's different every month, right? So they grow faster within the first year. So in keeping that in mind, I always say like for every child's age and stage of development, there's a time limit on how much time they should spend on their devices. 6 months and under, they shouldn't even be on it. They can't even see color properly. So infant, like I always say, 1 year and under, completely shouldn't have the devices around. They shouldn't have their own. Not even like sometimes parents will play like nursery rhymes and stuff, and I'm like, there's frequencies in these nursery rhymes that their brain isn't developed to take in, and so like I wouldn't even focus on that. But like 2 years and like I would say about 12 months to a year, 2 years, sorry, I would say 15 minutes a day, if that. Because here's the thing: a lot of parents don't want to give their children the device, but they do because life has gotten harder and they've got things to do. So it's like, let me just give them that and they'll be quiet for a bit and I can get this done. But that doing that is a detriment for you. Yeah. So I would say 2 years and under, so 1 to 2, 15 minutes a day. Um, then I would say gradually between 3 and 5, I would say 30 to 45 minutes a day and always in the morning so they have the rest of the day to do what they're doing. And then as they get older, you just kind of match the energy. But if you stick to the time limit when they're young and having short time limit when they're young, a lot of parents will see that they don't actually want to be on their devices. They've figured out how to self play, how to self soothe, how to do all these different things, how to be bored. I always say kids are not bored anymore. I'm bored, and then there's something in their face. I always say embrace the boredom. Children should embrace the boredom and be okay with being bored, you know? So yeah, so those are like my recommendations along with the
Yeah. But how would you embrace the boredom?
how to embrace the boredom. Oh, so like
Because it sounds like no, because it sounds like an interesting thing to even try and embrace. Mm.
I'm bored. Okay. So, like, for example, if you think about a child's, let's say a 3-year-old right now,
Yeah.
let's say 4-year-old right now. In the morning, they go to nursery, or they go to school, whatever, and then they come back. Then they have a snack. Like, they're from the moment they wake up to the moment they sleep, everything is panned out. Everything is like, and now you're gonna play, and now you're gonna learn, and now you're gonna eat, and now you're gonna. So it doesn't leave room for a child to be like, well, like
Yeah.
I want to do this. So it's not hard for
Yeah.
a child to be creative. It's not hard for a child to think about, playing a game or doing something with
Yeah.
very limited resources. We just don't give them the
Mm.
space to do this. So
Yeah.
that's why I say embrace boredom. Give them a space,
Yeah.
preferably in the unplugged zone. with very little resources, walk away. You don't have to figure out what they're gonna do. As long as they're safe, as long as they're safe and in a safe environment,
Yeah.
that should be okay,
And then
you know?
sorry, you was also breaking down the other ages.
Yeah, so the older they get, so like when I say like between 6 and 8 years old, I always say like no more than an hour. Then it's not about the time that they're spending. Then it becomes the content that they're taking in, right? So it's like if they are spending more time, what type of content are they watching? Is it educational? Is it beneficial for them? Because yeah, they could spend, okay, this is YouTube and this is, whatever. I've put parental control on it, but what type of content are they consuming? How much information are they taking in that is beneficial to their learning and to their development? You know, so then you have to kind of like, this is a moment I always say, like, if you want your child to learn a different language, you can utilize the device for that. So they are watching something in Spanish or in French or in whatever language that you want them to learn. Um, but yeah, the older they get, the content management is another thing that I
Yeah.
always say we have to kind of look at as well.
That's firstly, I love the way that you broke it down into years of the age groups, because I feel like that's a really easy way to kind of digest it down. I think it's your teacher thing coming in again. Um, but I feel like because let me not hot my friend out, but his nephew is so well versed with technology that it's actually kind of scary. And his English
Okay.
is like pretty good, I would say, like for a kid. I mean, like he's able to articulate himself quite well, whatever have you. But he's still, you can tell he's very, very young. But like when he gets an iPad, it's like he knows where to search, he knows how to type, he knows how to spell. But it's like you would never assume that from a thing, and it's kind of like in that sense of like just it being the iPad that he's able to do this with. When technology grows more and more, how bad do you feel like things could get?
I mean, wait, how old is he again?
I'll say he's like 5,
Oh,
and it's like
mashallah.
it's like
Okay.
crazy good
I'll
with
tell you
like tech.
a case. I'll tell you a case that I had a couple of years ago. I had this young girl, this family, and the dad had called me in and was like, "Oh, we need your help because his daughter was 5 at the time." And again, like you just described your friend's nephew, she was so
Yeah.
good with the device, with the iPad and her dad's phone, and she could just whatever. The
Mm,
dad has a Tesla, right? So lo and behold, she's figured out
yeah.
that there's a Tesla app on the phone, that you start the
Mm,
car with
yeah.
the app and all of that. And
That's
she
so
she
crazy.
essentially opened the car
Yeah.
with her dad's phone and
Oh
got
wow.
in the car.
That's
Can you imagine? She
crazy.
got in the car, and thankfully, alhamdulillah, like these in the houses that
Yeah.
are out here, we've got like the gates.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
thankfully,
yeah.
the gate
Alhamdulillah.
didn't open. She didn't
Yeah.
like she couldn't she didn't figure out self yet. She was trying to, when her dad called her and like called her out, she was like, "I'm just going to
Wow.
McDonald's. I just want to get
Yeah.
an ice cream." So imagine she
Yeah.
was like, "I want
But
to
it's
go
like
to
this weird
McDonald's."
thing of it's like they silently know all of these things. Like like you can't.
No, here's what comes into play. You and I can sit here all day and I can tell you 99 things that kids are going to do with
Yeah.
devices. That is wild, right? But it always comes down to one very simple thing. Kids will never do as
Mm,
we tell them to do. They will do
yeah.
as we show them, right? So like I can
Yeah.
say get off the phone 10,000 times to a child.
Yeah.
I can say get off your iPad. But if the parents are not, utilizing or not having a healthy relationship with their devices, then the
Yeah.
kids are not going to listen, right? And I can, what's so interesting? I'll tell you something like
Yeah.
that's personal to me, and I think this has my friends always spun out because they're always like, Anissa, I don't know how you do it. So for me being the person that like
Yeah.
preaches being unplugged, right? I have a YouTube channel, I have an Instagram account,
Yeah.
and I'm like posting, right? So I have to.
Yeah.
It's part of my job. It's part
You
of
have to
whatever. I
be there,
have to
yeah.
be out there, right? But my personal, yeah. But my personal thing with my phone is the most funniest thing. I don't have
Huh?
data on my phone. So for the last however many years, I've never. I don't have data on my phone. That means I don't have I can't do calls. I don't have
Yeah.
internet. I don't have on my actual personal phone. I'm
Mm.
connected to like Wi-Fi, my office, my house, whatever. I don't have data on my.
That is
I've never had
wild.
data on my phone. If you trying to
Yeah.
reach me, you have to call me, right? That's number one. I don't shop
Mm.
online. I've never shopped online. I'm not going to purchase anything online. I'll go
Missing
to the
out though.
stores or whatever. I don't have any of my
Yeah.
cards connected to my phone. No, no, because the experience of like
True.
shopping, walking, it could be me going to the mall and actually
Yeah.
having that walkabout could probably be the most steps I've
True.
done that day
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been out at the office all day and I've
Yeah.
been so I
Yeah.
have to go get this outfit. I have to go do this. I have to go grocery shopping.
Mm.
Go do it, right? So it's like these things, and like if I'm out with my friends, I have a very strict rule, and they know it, and they hate me for it, but it's whatever. We um we can't touch our phone. We
Yeah.
could take pictures of the food, could take pictures of the place.
Yeah.
You put your phone down though. You can't be on your phone. Who touches their phone
Damn.
has to pay the whole bill for
Fully
whatever we've had.
unplugged, huh?
So it's like my relationship, my person. Yeah. So like if I'm gonna talk the talk,
Yeah.
I gotta
Absolutely.
live it as well. So like I got this relationship with my devices. I'm barely on my devices. I don't have a, TV in my house. I don't
Yeah.
there's a lot I don't do. Like I'm wildly unplugged
Yeah.
but very social, right? But the thing that I can stand on is if I am talking to young children about being having healthy relationships with their devices, I have to then live that, right? I can't be like, well, get off your phone, and I'm like, "Duh, duh, duh,"
Yeah.
like it doesn't make any sense. So parents, I think at this point, when it comes to digital wellness for the children, we have a
Mm.
huge responsibility. Like parents have a huge responsibility on their shoulder to demonstrate what it looks like to
Yeah.
have a healthy relationship
Yeah.
with
No.
their device.
Absolutely.
You know,
Um. And
I think I caught you off guard with
the
the online
online,
shopping,
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
I?
yeah. I can't lie. Online shopping is a must. I can't lie. It's just open up. Like I have an interesting
I
relationship with tech because I can't lie. I'm kind of all here for it. Um,
Yeah.
I get obviously how much it
Okay.
can be a detriment for kids. I think it's just because of my ignorance to that, and maybe you being around kids more, you've seen the kind of stuff that it does. But like me, only when I saw like my friend's nephew did I think, oh wow, this is crazy. Like how like he's barely talking, but he knows how to like type things
That's
away,
the
and
big
like he'll be like, do you know
one.
what this animal is? And he'll just like put it in and he'll show me, and it's like I'm like, how do you even know how to do this, right? But at the same time, I'm all here for to see
Yeah.
where technology is kind of going. Um, like I do enjoy, yeah, I do enjoy online shopping for that. Like the ability that Amazon can get me something from somewhere else in like the next day is sensational. And I hate I personally don't like going to like the mall or shopping or anything
Yeah.
like that. Um, but to have it delivered to my house, but I feel like in the longer run, I feel like your way would be better because now there's a lot of these talks on like the social media like detox, um where like now people are actively coming off of social media for like maybe a
Yes.
month. I actually did it as a challenge one time for a month, and it was like a
Yeah.
massive improvement on like attention, on sleep, on like
Yeah.
well-being mentally. Like there's a lot
Mhm.
of things that it can actually help with.
I actually forgot to mention that every year I take a month off. I forgot to mention that part. Yes, that's something that I've normally I take a month
On top of already not being there.
off. So I take a month off.
Yeah.
Normally I take it off in
Mm,
Ramadan. This year though I didn't because I had
yeah.
some stuff, but I took it off in March. So that I take like a month off and I'll be like, you know,
Yeah.
and now at this point, everybody's just kind of used to it. So it's like, if you're looking for me, you just gotta call
Yeah.
me, and I might answer if my phone's on loud. But regardless, like just having a healthy like
Yeah.
relationship with our devices, and even yes, you are right. Like I am working with kids, so I see it. But like just as a society, like I'll see my friends. We probably haven't caught up in. Maybe we haven't. We're
Yeah.
so busy, we haven't caught up in so long. But everyone just assumes
Mm,
it's fine because you're posting on social media. Like, oh, I saw you post the other day. Oh, how was that? you went through, how was
True.
that? That's just a snippet of my life. I've posted
Yeah.
a one portion of my day. You don't know what could have happened to me, like, so it's like it for me, it's really important that when I am like spending quality time with friends and family, like we are not on our phones, we're not on our devices,
Yeah.
we have that moment. And kids deserve that too. Like, how many times do kids, I mean, I had a child the other day, she was like really upset, and I walked in, and normally I have like a handshake thing
Yeah.
with the kids. I'm always like, "Yep, we have a handshake." And then that day walked in, she was like,
Oh,
"Miss Anise, can I have a hug?"
damn.
She was like, "I just want a hug." And I just gave her a hug, and she was like, and she's like 6 years old. Yeah, she's 6 now.
Yeah.
And she was like, "I just want a hug." And I felt like, oh, and one thing about me is
Yeah.
I'm overly affectionate with the kids, with my friends. I'm like, but that physical
Yeah.
touch, sorry, is like
True.
missing. You can't get that through devices. I see my friends and I'm like, "Let me just give you a hug," and they'll be standing there like that, like they don't want to give me a hug. But like, because of the fact that we're so conditioned to like space, spaced out. But when that little girl said, "I just want a hug," it broke my heart because like everyone's hands are occupied.
Uh,
Mhm. Your hands are occupied. You can't even reach out and
Yeah.
give a 6-year-old a hug. It's
And one
it's really
thing
sad.
I
Mm.
feel like as well that would be an interesting topic to kind of touch up on, because I've seen like even Facebook, they've started this thing of like where they've got these head goggles, where like if you have a head goggle as well, where the AI can like sort of take images from like your up to your chest, and then it's like two people are in the same room talking to each other and whatnot, right? And they're looking to
Mhm.
expand that so that eventually like six people can have headphones and are like virtually somewhere. I can see you rolling your eyes, are virtually like in different places, and they're all coming together
Everywhere.
speaking. And I kind of find that cool, I'll be honest. And I also feel like the reason why I kind of brought that up is as well, it's kind of like things like Habbo Hotel or like Club Penguin, like all these like kind of games that were about before on the internet.
Sorry.
It allowed kids maybe with like social anxieties to kind of open up more and to like be themselves. Maybe if they weren't confident in themselves, they could be like, okay,
Mm.
online I could
Yes.
be this whole new kind of person.
Mhm.
Um, and I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that, like maybe these kind of new things helping with
Mhm.
kids that may have that social anxiety to kind of open up a bit more in the online world, or is that very unhealthy?
I mean, yeah. No, I mean, with everything, there's a balance, right? So, yes, there could be some children who don't feel like they can make friends in real life, and they can make more friends and have relationships and stuff on friendships and stuff on social media or online or through games and stuff. But I think essentially, if you kind of like strip it back, um, how is that them having social anxiety, them struggling to kind of communicate and be create relationships with children of their same age? If that's a problem, how is them creating another personality on social media
Mm,
or online fixing that problem? It's not really
yeah,
fixing anything. It's adding more to it. It's kind of taken away from like, let's solve the issue. Let's look at a different
yeah,
way, but avoid solving the issue. It's kind of like putting a band-aid on a bullet hole type of thing. So I would say, like, if
yeah,
there's an issue, let's fix the issue
mm,
with things that are tangible. Young children need, like you said, the whole thing with Facebook virtual thing. I'm just like, whatever. Like, you can try everything, but nothing can take away from the senses, like what you feel, the hormones that are
yeah,
released when you get a hug, or when you get a physical touch from a loved one, or like able to taste something and hear something, and like all these things that you experience with the senses that
alhamdulillah,
alhamdulillah Allah has blessed us with. It really adds to just the experience for young children, right? And so, how much of that are we cheating them out of? That's really the question we have to ask ourselves. Like, what it's
yeah.
not fair that we've
No,
experienced it.
true.
Why are we
I
cheating
think
them out of it?
more. I was more necessarily thinking of the older ones, like because I know you said in your book that around 11 to 13 is when they should get a smartphone. I was thinking like maybe sort of like beyond those kind of ages of like maybe the 13, 14, 15, where people have just as much of a social like community and engagement online as they do in school. It's like they have group chats, they have forums, they have like now like
Yeah,
people go on streams and all these kind of like it's just as like busy and popular online as it is in person now. So it's kind of like
it is. Yeah, but then the conversation. But then I say that the conversation is different, and I didn't say they should have smartphones. I said they should have a phone that you can call them
a
on
phone.
that doesn't
Oh,
have any type of connection to. Yeah, yeah, like a Nokia, like an old school. Parents call them and text them. They should have that,
yeah,
not an
yeah.
actual smartphone.
When do you think they should have a smartphone then?
No, yeah, the smartphone is just when they're old enough to understand how it can impact their whole life. Like for example, a smartphone, especially if you think like now we've got iPhones and stuff like that. 10 years from now, how is
Mm,
a smartphone going to look? Is it even going to be a phone? Is it going to be a chip? Is it going to be? We don't even know. But it's essentially the same way we say like, and I know this is wildly extreme, but I truly believe that these are the regulations we're going to need to have. The same way that we have to have our driver's license at 18, I think that's the type of like way we have to look at when
ooh.
kids are getting their own phones. It's like there has to be some type of like thing in place where they take this test and they earn the right to have this device because this is a gate. Like when we were younger, our
Yeah.
parents used to be like, "Don't talk to strangers.
Mm,
Like, keep to yourself. Walk on the conversations our parents used to
yeah.
have with us about safety was
Yeah.
tangible. It was our environment. It was whatever. What type of conversation can we have with our children today? And that's we're talking about the teenagers having these social circles. The conversation isn't should they be in these spaces. It's the
To them,
access
yeah.
that other people can
Yeah.
have to them that will endanger their safety, and
Yeah.
that is the conversation, right? If this is a forum or like even like a little bit of
Yeah.
a situation these days with Snapchat. I don't know if you guys have this problem in London, but like young kids now have these Snapchats and like Snapchat, they'll Snapchat things to their friends or whatever, and like put their
Mm,
locations on for their friends, and like
okay,
things
yeah.
have been happening because of it. And it's like, there you go. There's that safety. If my parents told me don't talk to a stranger,
Yeah.
why do strangers know where I am at? Why is my
Yeah,
location
yeah, yeah.
open
That's
for people to
wild.
see? Right? Like it's just simple things like that that those conversations that we need to have with teenagers because teenagers will be reckless. You've got hormonal teenagers going through
Yeah.
puberty with access to the world
Yeah.
at that same time. Yeah, it's problematic. It
No,
has
no,
to
it's
be
true. And I
regulated,
think
you know?
the point that you made about like getting
So,
like a license almost same way you'd get a driver license is an interesting one. Because then how would you kind of go about because I mean, I think one of my biggest fears is the
mm,
accessibility people have to kids. Um like there was like a recent incident that happened of like
absolutely.
where
Abs-
a girl, a teenager going to school got stabbed by this guy that wanted to like try get her back or it was a very complicated like kind of story, but they obviously knew each other and they were like talking back and forth through social media and all this kind of stuff, and it's like relationships are being built under your nose and you're just looking at your kid but they're just on their
Yeah,
phone but they could be talking to someone that could potentially take their life and you have no idea about it. I think that's like my biggest like
yeah,
concern with all of this. Yeah.
no clue. And it's like that
Yeah.
the naivety.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did hear about that young girl.
Offending her
The
friend,
girl was
that's it.
defending
Yeah.
her friend or something like that. It was really tragic. And I think the takeaway from stuff. Yeah. And the takeaway of stuff like that, again, it really just goes back to digital awareness and young children, young teenagers actually being aware of like the because it's like how do you
Mm,
measure how much to tell them, right? It's like I know it's a little bit taboo, but it's like at what point do you
yeah.
have a conversation with your child about sex, right? It's the same type of thing of like how much can you tell
Yeah.
your child about how dangerous it can be on being in these spaces
Yeah.
without the safety measurements put in place. Because there's still a child at the end of the day. You still kind of want to cover them. You still kind of, but then at the same time, it's like it's so out of parents. Like I had an issue with a sibling,
Yeah.
one of my clients' sibling. He got duped into. He's 17,
Yeah.
but he was playing video games or something with someone, and he got duped into actual. The person asked for their
Oh.
credit card information,
Yeah.
and thankfully the banks here are amazing. You can't really do
Yeah.
anything without them like being on top of it, which is amazing. But the person tried to take about 10,000 dirhams, which I want to say is about £3,000, around that much, from the credit card, and it was because he was like, "Oh, I'm purchasing something, so send me the." So he
Yeah.
blindly sent the credit card information. Now
Yeah.
we would know never to do that, right? And I'd know never to like send someone whatever, but
Yeah.
like, where was the conversation, right? Where was the awareness? Where was
Yeah.
the conversation about it all? So yeah, it's a bit of a
Mm.
hard topic to have, but I'm glad that we're like, you're giving me a space like this where we can kind of talk about things
Yeah.
like this, because it's like it is important, because we are at a point in life
Yeah.
where we can't avoid it anymore. COVID came, kind of exposed the lid on it, and if we try to continue to avoiding it,
Yeah.
it's only going to get worse. So the sooner we understand how important it is to have these conversations with our children, the better it is when it comes to like things happening. Our children will
Yeah.
feel comfortable enough to come and like have
Yeah.
conversations with us and be like, I don't
Absolutely.
know what
Because
to
a
do
lot
in
of
this
it is
situation.
very much unprecedented.
So
A lot of it is
yeah,
new technology coming out because no one grew up with this. It's like, so like we're kind of learning about it as it comes out, but as we're learning
hmm
about it, the kids are growing up in it. So it's like maybe they'll have like a completely better understanding, yeah, because it's
and
just
no
all
one knows
new.
what to do.
This is just new things that are happening every single time, you know. Like Snapchat is only 10 years old, WhatsApp is like what 12 years old, like Facebook is like 14. It's like it's
Yeah,
crazy to see like yeah,
it's
yeah,
still
it's crazy to see like how quick things have changed
It's
over
still pretty
time,
new.
you know.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Um, but to kind of bring it back to like the children, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's only going to
And it's
continue.
only going to
Yeah.
continue.
And so to kind of like bring it back to the children, because
Yeah.
kind of like as things have changed over time, the thing I want to talk about as well is like demand on like, whereas before, as a kid, I knew certain times certain shows would be on. So if I was out playing or wherever it was, I'd be like, okay, like 4 o'clock, my favorite show is coming on. I have to be back.
Yeah.
But like now that as a child, I could be like, okay, I don't have to wait till 4 o'clock. I could just watch it now, and then the next episode now and now and now. Like, how do you, how do you, how do you like keep kids away from that
Yeah.
amount of stimulation that they're getting?
Yeah, I mean that's a question that a lot of the parents always ask me. They're like, "Well, yeah, like what should they watch? What should they not watch?" I think the thing about young children now is like there's a lot of options
Yeah,
in terms of the shows that they watch, and the way that these shows are actually being created and being put
yeah,
out is at such a fast pace right
new,
now.
yeah,
Like every year there's like something new, right? But I always say when you've allocated the time that they're
yeah,
spending on being on their devices, because that's number one, right? It's like how much time are they spending on their devices for their age and stage of development. If they've got 30 minutes, in those 30 minutes, what can I steer my, because again, children will have access to things, but at the end of the day, as the adults, it's for us as adults to come in and really guide it in a way that is
yeah.
like they think they've chosen it. The child thinks they've chosen it, right? So it's like back then, like you
Mm,
said, when we'd come home, we didn't really have
yeah,
much
yeah.
choice.
You
This
take
was
it or
coming on
leave
at
it.
that time, and that was it. You were only going to watch that. But it's
Yeah,
like we flip it now. Yes, right. So now we flip it because yes, there's a lot of options, but that's better for us as the adults and as the parents to maneuver and to create
mm,
options that are beneficial for the child. Like I have a really good friend of mine, and her husband's like
yeah.
really tech. He's just me and him. Yeah,
Clashing, yeah,
we're always kind of like arguing
yeah,
because he's for it. But one thing that he did, well, yeah,
yeah,
he's like, I don't really understand what you're doing, Anissa, but whatever. But one thing that I appreciate that he's created for his boys is Him and his friends
Mm.
created this like Netflix thing. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like a yes, it's like Netflix, but they choose the programs
Okay.
that goes
Yeah.
on this platform. So their kids only know these platform shows and the things on the TV. So the kids
Okay.
think
Yeah.
they're on
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Netflix. They think they're on like Disney or whatever. But
Yeah. That's
technically
actually
it's the thing that
incredible.
and so the shows on there
Yeah.
are child appropriate, age stage. Right. So that's the
Yeah.
one thing that I was like, I'll give you this. Right. But like stuff like that. So steering your child into watching shows and things that are beneficial. Again, like I said, this is a
Yeah.
perfect time for them to learn a new language. So if it's something in like these kids, the boys I was telling you about, their dad puts on
Yeah.
some stuff for them in Japanese.
Yeah.
They're Arab, they're Emirati, but they're
Japanese. Yeah.
learning and watching shows in Japanese. Um, so it's like you can really
Yeah.
maneuver that and manipulate it in a
Yeah.
way that they
Oh,
are learning
absolutely,
something,
absolutely.
you know?
And I kind of wanted to, I guess, wrap it up with asking about Kids Unplugged because because I said we would come back for it, and I kind of wanted to know a lot more about it because I see you have a whole page for it on Instagram, and I wanted to know about it, why you started, and kind of like where you see it going.
So yeah, so the Unplugged initiative, it's my little baby. Um, I started it like 20,
Yeah.
in 2017, and
Mm.
initially it was Kids Unplugged. And even the name, everyone's like, "How did you come up with the name?" And the name itself is like my mom actually. I don't even know if she inspired
Yeah.
it. I don't know if she knows that she inspired it. But when we were younger, my mom used to, she used to do this thing. Do you remember back in the day when the internet used to be in a wire
To
and like
put.
you take it out from the internet to put it
Yeah,
in your
yeah,
phone?
yeah. Well, there was
Like
like
it was a
two.
weird thing.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't. It was a dial-up,
Yeah.
the dial-up connection. That's what it was. Yeah. So my mom thought she was slick. So what she used to do is when we were younger, we'd be upstairs and everybody would be like on something, like on I can't remember,
Yeah.
like we'd be or the PC or something. Anyways, so my mom would be calling our names coming
Yeah.
downstairs. She'd be like so and so and so and so. She'd say someone's name. No one's coming downstairs. So my mom
Oh,
unplug the whole router, right? And then she'd sit back
yeah.
down on her sofa with her
Yeah.
like whatever she was doing and act oblivious. Okay.
Yeah. I'd be like, what's
Someone
going
is
on?
eventually gonna come downstairs to fix it, right? So whoever comes downstairs, she'd be like,
Yeah,
"Oh yeah, you're down. Oh yeah." She'd be like, "Oh, you're
yeah.
downstairs. Can you make me a cup of tea? Can you like?" Whatever she wanted to be done, so then you'd have to do it. When my younger brother,
Mm.
figured it out, he was like, "Rah, she's been playing us. She's been unplugging the whole thing. Like he saw her do it." So like that
Yeah.
that always kind of stuck to me. Like my mom had to
Yeah.
literally unplug for us to listen. So when I was thinking about the name, I was like, yeah, I think I kind of want to have that. But essentially, it's a set of programs that I create for families, for institutions, for schools, to
Yeah.
create like digital wellness. That's my always my biggest goal. But also ideas, because people will be like, okay, cool, we'll take
Yeah.
the devices away, but now what do we do? Now what should we give them? I have some programs at the kids clubs in hotels. So essentially, what I do is I go to hotels and they've got like TVs and games, but parents have paid all this money to fly to this part of the world for the
But
kids to
yeah.
be on the beach, but they're not on the beach. And so what I've done is I've gone into these hotels and I said, listen,
Mm.
I'll give you like a ready program, train your staff. All
Yeah.
you have to do is get rid of your TVs and stuff. And so that's what they've done. So the Unplugged
Mm.
Initiative programs are also hotels. Um, so yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
alhamdulillah,
Mashallah.
so far it's been going good. I do have the nanny training programs as well because I
Yeah.
work with a lot of the nannies that are with the young kids. And I do also have a show
Yeah.
on YouTube called The Kids Unplugged Show, which is essentially like
That's-
the red table talk, but it's a white table where young kids come on and they talk
Yeah.
to me about their experiences with devices. And we kind of hear what they think about it. So the Kids Unplugged
Yeah.
Show is something I'm proud of, and we're
Okay.
shooting season 2 now,
Yeah.
and so it's going well. So I'm excited. I mean, inshallah, the next 5-10 years, I really want it to be something that is
Yeah. Of course.
more
Inshallah.
recognized in homes. Like I want
Yeah.
families to be like, oh, it's unplug time.
Let's all
Let's
do this.
plug
Yeah.
together and let's all,
Yeah.
inshallah, like it's a movement. And I hope
Yeah.
I
And the
can,
amazing thing is as well in the book, which is
yeah,
why again I recommend everyone
that's
to
the
try and
goal.
get, is that you have like actual idea, like you give people ideas and like things that they can do and like practical steps to doing them at the end of the book to like actually, it's not just like this is what you guys should do and then just leaving them to it. You actually give them like things like, for example, going outside, going to different places, having like puzzles and stuff like that to do with the kids, which is really helpful and would
Yeah.
definitely help a lot of kids. Yeah, but I want to say thank you very much for coming on. Fortunately, we have run out of time, which
Alhamdulillah.
felt like, you know, it went very quick. But no, honestly, for me, this has been really, really insightful.
It
Um,
has.
and I think it's insightful not even like just for myself,
Alhamdulillah.
really, and actually understanding just how much tech can have a detriment as well as all the positives that it comes with. Um, but like on me as an adult, so I can only imagine how it'd be for the kids in their growing up phase.
Mhm.
So I want to thank you personally for highlighting that issue, and in a bite-sized way, like you said, that was easy for me to digest and to read. Um, and yeah, so yeah, again, thank you
Thank you
very
so much.
much for doing the work that you do and for
Alhamdulillah.
coming on as well.
No, honestly, thank you so much for having me. This has been fun. I normally have to talk to like parents and kids and
Yeah,
stuff. So, but talking on this platform and to your listeners, I think I appreciate that. And inshallah,
yeah, yeah, no,
whenever y'all want
100%.
to come to
We
Abu
will do.
Dhabi,
Yeah, and we'll
come
definitely have
through.
you
Let
on
me
again,
know.
inshallah, in
Inshallah.
the future. So everyone, make sure you guys check out Anisa's Instagram. I'll put it on the links. I'll put it everywhere. Incredible person, incredible talent, and we're happy to have you on. So again, thank you very much for coming on, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Paper Trails podcast. If you like this episode, please leave a review, comment, like, and subscribe. And be sure to follow us on all our socials.
Keep moving, keep growing, keep learning. See you at work.